I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this. I mean, who would? But here I am, staring at my phone screen, feeling my stomach turn to knots. Just a few days ago, I thought I knew everything about my wife, Sarah. We'd been together for 5 years, planning our future, talking about kids, that kind of stuff. I trusted her completely, or so I thought. It all started with a simple message. I was at work, sitting at my desk, when I noticed her best friend and coworker, Lisa, had sent a text late into the night. Nothing unusual except that Lisa was always cautious about her phone, hiding her notifications, acting odd when I'd ask questions, so I peeked. I shouldn't have, but I did. The message was from Lisa and it read, "Can't wait to see you tonight. Last night was incredible." My mind slammed into a wall. I stared at those words, feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. Lisa and Sarah. That was impossible. I dismissed it at first, thinking maybe it was a joke or some kind of misunderstanding. But then I remembered the little things I'd noticed. Lately, Sarah getting fidgety when I mentioned Lisa. The way she'd suddenly become distant whenever her phone buzzed. The way she'd cancel plans, saying she was tired or busy. Small things that now seemed like red flags. I decided to dig a little deeper. That night, I hovered near her phone while she was in the kitchen. She was singing softly to herself, pouring cereal into a bowl. I waited until she turned away for a second, then grabbed her phone. My palms were sweaty. I felt like I was about to do something I'd regret. I unlocked her screen and I saw the message thread with Lisa. It was worse than I imagined. They'd been sexting, calling each other baby, sharing intimate photos and planning secret meetups just days before our wedding date. My skin felt cold and my stomach twisted. I scrolled through the messages, each one more nauseating than the last. They'd been sleeping together, probably more than once, behind my back. All the while I was planning our wedding, spending money, buying her gifts, pretending everything was perfect. And she was lying to me. I couldn't believe it. I felt like I'd been hit with a sledgehammer. I sat there trying to process what I'd just seen. My mind raced, trying to think of what to do next. How could I have missed the signs? How did I not see this coming? I was angry, betrayed, humiliated. My fists clenched so tightly my knuckles went white. I wanted to confront her right then and there, but I knew I needed a plan. This wasn't just a slap in the face, it was a blow to the gut, a betrayal that cut deep. I remember feeling the sweat trickle down my back as I sat frozen, staring at her phone. I knew I couldn't just let this go. The worst part, she'd lied to me about everything, told me she was working late, that she was tired, that she loved me. And she'd kept this secret from me for so long. It made me question everything, if I even knew who she was anymore. She was supposed to be my partner, my confidant, my best friend. Instead, she'd been secretly sneaking around with someone I thought was just her friend. That's when I realized I had to do something, but I did. Know what yet? What really tore me apart was the feeling of betrayal, that deep, gnawing sense that I'd been played for a fool. I could still feel the cold sweat on my palms. I was trembling, not just from anger, but from the overwhelming sense of loss. I thought about her, about the life we'd built, about all the promises we'd made. And now it was all shattered. I looked at her, still singing in the kitchen, blissfully unaware that her world was about to change. I knew this wasn't going to be easy. I had to get revenge, not just for me, but to make her realize what she'd thrown away. I kept my cool long enough. That night I started planning. I was going to make her regret every lie, every betrayal. I had to. I couldn't just walk away, not without making her feel what I was feeling right now. But how? That's what haunted me. What's the right move? I could feel my pulse pounding in my ears. I had the evidence. I had the anger. Now I just needed a plan. And I knew one thing. She was going to pay. The next morning, I woke up feeling like my head had been run over by a freight train. The weight of the betrayal pressed down on me, making every breath shallow and every thought bitter. I kept replaying the scene in my mind, Sarah singing softly at the sink, oblivious to what I'd uncovered. I couldn't stand the idea of her just going on like everything was normal, like her secret hadn't just shattered our entire future. I sat on the edge of the bed, trying to gather my thoughts. My stomach was still clenched and my palms felt slick with sweat. I knew I couldn't just confront her without a plan. If I did, I'd probably lose my temper and say things I'd regret forever. No, this had to be calculated. I needed to hit her where it hurt without losing control. I started by cleaning out my desk drawer, pulling out some old files and my phone. I wanted to be prepared, to have everything lined up before I made any moves. I also remembered I had her phone still sitting on the counter. I snatched it up, thinking I might need it later. I wasn't sure how far. I was willing to go, but I knew I had to gather all the evidence I could. I wanted to know everything: who else she was talking to, how long this had been going on, all the details that would make her realize she'd destroyed us. I spent the morning close to the door, listening for her footsteps. I was tense, every nerve on high alert. When she finally came out of the bedroom, she looked beautiful, as if nothing had happened. Hair perfectly styled, makeup fresh, her smile innocent. I couldn't help but feel a cold fury boil inside me. I forced myself to stay calm, to keep my voice steady. "Hey," I said, trying to sound casual but knowing it was a lie. "We need to talk, now." She blinked, surprised, then nodded. "What's going on?" she asked, her voice sweet but cautious. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my composure. "I saw your messages, the ones with Lisa, the ones you've been hiding." My voice cracked slightly, but I pushed through. "Tell me what the hell is going on." "Because I found out you've been sleeping with her, haven't you?" Her eyes widened, and for a moment she looked genuinely stunned. Then her face twisted into a nervous smile. "It's not what you think." "Oh, I think I know exactly what I saw," I snapped. "You've been lying to my face, Sarah. You've been sneaking around, sleeping with your best friend behind my back. How long has this been going on?" She looked down, her hands trembling. "It was just a mistake. It didn't mean anything." I felt something snap inside me. A mistake. "You think betraying me like that, lying to me for months, is just a mistake? Do you understand how betrayed I feel? Because I don't think I can ever trust you again." She looked like she was about to cry, but I was past caring. I wanted her to see the damage she'd done, to feel the weight of her actions. "You've been lying this whole time," I continued, voice low and cold. "While I was planning our wedding, you were busy screwing your best friend. Do you even realize how much you've hurt me?" Her eyes filled with tears, but I didn't soften. I kept my jaw tight. "I need to think about what to do next. Don't bother trying to deny it. I have evidence, and I assure you I won't forget this." She looked at me with wide, desperate eyes. "Please don't do anything stupid. I swear it was a mistake. Just give me a chance to explain." I shook my head sharply. "There's nothing to explain. Just go. I need some space to think." She nodded slowly, her face pale, and walked out of the room. I knew I couldn't just walk away from this, not without making her realize the damage she'd caused. But I also knew I needed a plan. I had the evidence, I had her on the ropes, and I was already formulating my next move. That's when it hit me, how to turn the tables completely. I'd use her own betrayal against her, make her feel the betrayal like I did, but on my terms. I'd find a way to get revenge that wouldn't just be petty. It had to be calculated, sharp, and final. I wanted her to know she'd lost everything. Without me, she was nothing. I spent the rest of the day gathering my thoughts, plotting every step. I knew now that I couldn't just confront her again and hope for the best. No, this had to be strategic. I pulled out some old contacts, checked my options, and drafted a plan that would leave her stunned when she saw it. And as I sat there with the cold realization settling in, I understood one thing clearly. I wasn't just going to walk away. I was going to make her regret every single second of that betrayal, and she was going to pay. The following day, I woke up with a clearer mind, or at least a mind that felt like it had been sharpened by the storm of emotions from the night before. The plan was starting to take shape, and I knew I couldn't afford to rush. Not yet. I had to be patient, calculating every move, like a chess game where I was determined to checkmate her without giving her any room to breathe. First order of business was confirming the extent of her secret meetings. I knew she'd be at work, probably thinking everything was fine, that I'd just blow over it. So I decided to take a different approach. I needed her to slip up, to show her true colors again, so I could be sure I had all the evidence I needed. I reached out to Lisa late that morning, pretending to be friendly but with an underlying tone of icy resolve. I kept it casual, asking how her day was, if she was available for a quick chat. She responded quickly, hesitant but willing. I kept the conversation light at first, then pressed a little more. "Listen," I said, I found out what you two have been up to. I know about the affair. I paused, letting the words hang. And I want to know if there's more I should know, because I plan to handle this one way or another. She hesitated, then blurted, "It's been going on for a while. We didn't mean for it to get this far. I swear it wasn't supposed to happen before your wedding, but I guess we lost control." I clenched my fists, feeling the fury rise again but keeping my tone even. "Lost control? You're damn right you did. And I want proof. Give me something, texts, photos, anything, or I'll make sure everyone finds out what you've done." That was the trigger I needed. Her voice cracked and she promised she'd send me everything. I knew I couldn't trust anything she sent, but I didn't need her to play fair. I just needed enough to make her realize I was serious. I wanted her to see that I was willing to turn her world upside down. Later that day, I found her phone on the kitchen table. I took a deep breath, then snatched it up when she wasn't looking. I went through her messages, her emails, her photos, and downloaded everything to a secure folder. The evidence was damning, proof of the affair, the secret meetings, even a few photos of them together. I felt a cold satisfaction knowing I had what I needed, but I also knew this was just the beginning. I didn't want to just confront her yet. No, I had a better idea. I wanted her to feel the weight of everything she'd done, but I also wanted to control the narrative. So I devised a plan to make her believe I was still in the dark, to keep her on her toes, while I prepared for my final move. That evening I called her into the living room. Her eyes were tired but wary. I sat her down, feeling every muscle in my body tense. "Sarah," I started, voice low, "I've been thinking about everything, about us, about how much you've hurt me." I paused, watching her face for any sign of remorse or guilt. "And I want you to understand one thing, I'm not the kind of guy who just walks away." She looked at me, her lips trembling. "Please, I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I love you. Love." I cut her off, feeling my jaw tight. "Love doesn't look like this, Sarah. Love doesn't cheat, lie, and betray your best friend behind my back. I've got the proof, and I've decided how I'm going to handle this." Her eyes widened. "What do you mean?" I pulled out the folder I'd been compiling. "This," I said softly but firmly, "this is everything I need to make sure everyone finds out. And I will. You think you're clever, hiding behind lies, but I have the evidence. I'm going to expose everything. Your affair, your lies, your betrayal. And I'm going to do it in a way that hits you right where it hurts." Her face went pale. "You're not serious." "Oh, I am, and I'm about to take control." I leaned in closer, voice cold and measured. "You're not going to stop me, not anymore." She looked like she wanted to argue, to beg, but she knew better. I could see it in her eyes, the realization that her world was about to crash down around her. I kept my tone even, calm but deadly. "You've pushed me to the edge. You'll regret this, Sarah. You'll regret every lie, every betrayal, and every second you thought you could get away with it." That night, I finalized my plan. I was going to send everything to her family, her friends, and even post a few things online. I wanted her to know that I was serious about making her pay. I wanted her to feel the humiliation, the shame, the loss of everything she'd taken from me. And when I finally did it, I knew her world would never be the same. I'd made up my mind. I was done waiting. She crossed a line, and I was ready to burn her bridges for good, because sometimes the only way to truly get revenge is to strip someone bare and watch them fall. And I was about to do exactly that. That evening, I sat at my desk, staring at the screen where I'd carefully crafted my next move. I'd spent hours gathering everything, screenshots, messages, photos, and now I was ready to execute the final phase of my plan. I could feel my pulse hammering in my chest, adrenaline mixing with cold determination. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about reclaiming my dignity and making sure she understood the depth of her betrayal. I opened up my email account, created a new message, and carefully attached all the evidence. I made sure to include a detailed explanation, just enough to make her realize I had everything. I also drafted a message to her family and close friends, explaining the situation with enough detail to make it clear she'd been lying for months. I wanted her to feel exposed, vulnerable, to understand that I was serious about making her regret everything. Before hitting send, I took a deep breath. The room felt cold, the only light coming from the monitor. I could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears, loud and relentless. I hesitated for a moment, then pressed send. The emails were out. My hands trembled slightly, but I kept my face blank. Let her think I was calm. Let her think I was still in control. I knew the fallout would be immediate. I expected her to try to deny everything, to spin stories, to desperately grasp at any excuse. But I had the proof, and that was all that mattered. Now I waited. The waiting was almost worse than the act itself. Every second felt like an eternity. Within an hour, my phone buzzed repeatedly. I ignored the first few, but then I saw her name flash on the screen. I hesitated, then answered, trying to sound cold but composed. "Sarah," I said softly. "Please," she begged, voice trembling. "Please don't do this. I swear I'll fix this. Just give me a chance to explain." I cut her off. "There's nothing to explain. I have everything. Your lies, your affair, your betrayal, everything is out. I'm done pretending I didn't know. You're going to regret this, Sarah. You can try to lie your way out of it, but I have all the proof I need." There was a long pause on the line. Then she whispered, "I didn't mean for it to happen like this. I was stupid. I was weak. Please, I love you." I felt my jaw tight. Love? If you loved me, you wouldn't have done this behind my back. You'd have been honest, loyal, faithful. Instead, you chose to cheat, to lie, to ruin what we had. So don't talk to me about love now. I'm done with your lies. She started crying softly, begging me not to tell anyone, to give her a chance to fix it. But I'd already made up my mind. The damage was done. Her words didn't matter anymore. All that mattered was that she'd lost my trust forever. I told her I'd be coming over soon, not to talk, but to pick up my things. I wanted her to know I was serious about ending everything. And the final thing I did was to turn off my phone, feeling a strange mixture of relief and icy resolve. I was done being the victim. I was going to make her feel exactly what she'd made. Me feel humiliated, exposed, powerless. In the days that followed, I stayed silent, letting the chaos unfold. Her attempts to contact me were relentless, but I ignored her. I knew she was panicking, trying to salvage what she could. Meanwhile, I began to plan how I'd make her regret this for the rest of her life. The truth was, I didn't want her back. I didn't want any version of her that lied and cheated. I wanted her to understand that she'd ruined everything, and that there was no coming back from this. I was ready to watch her fall, to watch her realize she'd lost the best thing she ever had, me. And as I sat in my apartment, staring at the city lights flickering outside, I couldn't help but think. Sometimes, revenge isn't about hurting someone just to hurt them. It's about making them see the damage they've done and knowing that there's no way to fix it. That's what I was about to do. A few days went by in a blur of cold silence and a strange sense of calm. I kept my distance, letting her panic and stew in her own guilt. I stayed. Busy, working late, going to the gym, anything to keep my mind off the chaos I'd unleashed. But I knew the real work was just beginning. I'd set the stage, and now I had to watch her fall into the trap I'd laid out so carefully. Her attempts at reaching out became more desperate. Texts flooded my phone, some begging, some accusing me of overreacting. I ignored them all, feeling a strange satisfaction knowing she was desperate. I'd heard her crying on the phone with her sister, seen her pacing around the apartment at night, clutching her phone like a lifeline. That was when I knew I'd succeeded in shaking her to her core. Then, I decided to make my move more definitive. I wanted her to see for herself what her betrayal had cost her. I arranged to meet her at her apartment, but not for a friendly talk. I wanted her to understand that I was serious about ending this chapter forever. When I knocked on her door, she opened it quickly, eyes red and puffy. Her face drained when she saw me standing there, my arms crossed, expression cold. "Hey," she whispered, voice trembling. "What are you doing here?" "I'm here to give you something," I said, voice steady but firm. "Something you'll never forget." She looked nervous but didn't try to stop me. I reached into my pocket, pulled out an envelope, and handed it to her. She hesitated, then took it, her fingers trembling as she opened it. Inside was a printed copy of every message, every photo, more evidence than I could have imagined. I watched her eyes flick over the pages, her jaw tightening as realization set in. "This is what you've been hiding," I said softly. "Your betrayal is out in the open. Everyone's going to know what you did, your family, your friends, your coworkers, everyone." Her eyes welled with tears. "Please, no," I interrupted. "No more excuses. You lied, you cheated, and now you're going to face the consequences." She looked at me, her face crumbling. "You're really doing this?" "I am," I said. "And I want you to remember this moment, because from now on, this is what you chose." I turned to leave, feeling a strange mixture of relief and a sharp, gnawing shame. I'd finally done it. The truth was out and she couldn't hide anymore. She'd lose everything she'd tried to keep hidden, and I knew she'd regret ever crossing me. As I walked away, I heard her sobbing behind me. I didn't look back. I knew this was the end of us, the decisive break I'd been waiting for. I'd shattered her illusion of control, and I'd made sure she understood the cost. That night I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight lift. A part of me still hurt, the betrayal cut deep, but another part felt free. I'd taken back control. I'd made her see what she'd lost, and I'd done it on my own terms. Revenge isn't about destruction for its own sake. It's about reclaiming your dignity, making someone see they can't get away with hurting you. That's exactly what I'd done. And honestly, it felt good. Real good. The days that followed were a whirlwind of chaos, but surprisingly, I felt lighter. The weight of the secret, the lies, the betrayal, all lifted a little when I handed her that evidence. Watching her crumble, finally exposed, was strangely cathartic. I'd spent years building a life with her, trusting blindly, and now I saw clearly how deep the deception ran. It stung, sure, but at the same time I knew I'd done what I needed to do to get closure. She didn't fight it. She didn't deny it anymore. Just sat there, tears streaming down her face, clutching the evidence I'd handed her like it was the reason her world was ending. I saw the shock, the despair, the realization that she'd lost her grip on everything she'd tried to hide. And honestly, part of me was relieved. I didn't want to keep living in a lie, pretending everything was okay. When she finally looked up at me, her voice hoarse and broken, she whispered, "You're right, I messed up. I never meant for it to go this far, but I still love you." I cut her off, voice steady but cold. "Love doesn't cheat. Love doesn't betray. You had your chance, Sarah. You threw it away. And now I'm done." I turned to walk out, my heart pounding in my chest. I wasn't even angry anymore, just exhausted. I knew I'd never forget what she did, but I also knew I couldn't keep living in this nightmare. I reached for the door handle, then paused. "Goodbye," I said softly, not looking back. "I hope you finally understand what you lost." As I stepped outside, I felt a heavy sense of finality settle over me. The apartment was silent, save for her muffled crying behind closed doors. I drove away, leaving the chaos behind, feeling the cool rush of air through the window. My mind was a whirl of conflicting feelings: relief, betrayal, anger, but mostly relief. I'd taken back my life, and I was finally free. The next day, I went to my lawyer and took the final steps to dissolve everything. I handed over the keys to the apartment, filed for the divorce, and made it clear I wanted no part of her future. That chapter was over, and I refused to look back. I knew I'd be okay, stronger, wiser, more cautious. But I also knew I'd never let anyone betray me like that again. Reflecting on it now, I realize that sometimes you have to hit rock bottom to see the truth. I learned that betrayal doesn't just hurt, it shatters. And the only way to heal is to cut out the poison and move forward. Revenge isn't about revenge itself. It's about reclaiming your dignity, asserting your worth, and showing the other person that their actions have consequences. So here's what I've learned. Trust is fragile. When it's broken, the only way to repair it isn't to keep pretending everything's fine. It's to face the pain head-on, take control, and walk away stronger. Because in the end, the best revenge is living well, knowing you didn't let someone's betrayal ruin you, but instead, you used it to become someone better.